everyone, and welcome back to Colorful Sparks. My name is Dorothy. Today we are going to be talking all about A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Now, right off the top, I need to tell you guys that this is going to be a spoiler video. There will be spoilers in this video. If you have not read A Court of Silver Flames, I don't suggest watching this video until you finish the book. If you don't care about spoilers, hi, hello, this is going to be great. If you do, I'm sorry. I promise there is other videos for you to watch that's not this one with spoilers in it. I apologize, but you've been given your warning. It's time for me to discuss this book. So as you all know, I read A Court of Silver Flames. The day it came out, I went out and I got it right away that day. There is a reading vlog linked in the description below. I enjoyed it. If you watched the February wrap-up video, you know that I gave it 4 stars. I kind of went into detail a little bit about why I can't give it 5 stars, and we'll discuss all of those reasons today. But also at the same time, I want you guys to go into this video remembering the fact that I do still really love the characters from this book. Like, I loved the ACOTAR series prior to A Court of Silver Flames coming out. I'm not sure how my opinions have changed after A Court of Silver Flames, but either way, I went into this book with such high hopes, with already great feelings about the characters in this book, and it delivered on some parts. So if you've read any of the blog posts before, or you watched the Raven Cycle video or the Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn video, you'll know that I kind of break things up into 3 categories, which are readability, character connection, and plot. Now, I will still be grading books on that kind of a scale, but I'm not going to be ranking them 5 out of 5 anymore or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about how the process went for me, because I've already given it 4 stars on Goodreads, so you know my thoughts kind of in that way. I feel like I kind of want to break out of that system that I've essentially put myself into, because sometimes books need to be discussed more than just those 3 categories. So we'll start right away with the readability. I read it very fast, so there's that. There are parts of this book that are paced a little bit slower than others, and there were also parts of this book that I found myself needing to stop because I had feelings about what was happening in the book. But I also know from the YouTuber Becca and the Books that this book might not be able to be read very fast for anyone who has experienced trauma in the past, mainly because this goes in on Nesta's past trauma from everything that happened in the original ACOTAR series. Now, I am calling the first 4 books the original ACOTAR series, just so we can confirm that what I read is still a part of the series, but also kind of away from that series. Okay, glad we had that little disclaimer. As for character connection, it was pretty strong just because I've already had 4 books spent with most of these people. I would say that my connection with Nesta and Cassian grew over this book. Obviously, this is focusing on them, so I spent more time with them. But in addition to Nesta and Cassian, I also fell in love with Gwen and Emery, who we meet in this novel, and they were just great people. I will also note that my opinions on some characters have shifted a little bit. I'm so sorry about what I'm about to say. Summer, please look away. But I don't really like Azriel as much anymore. Sorry, not sorry. His bonus chapter that he has in this book really just it doesn't give him a good light, if I'm going to be completely honest. And it's not good. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. But as for everyone else, I kind of kept the same feelings. I can't say that specifically for Rhysand, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but I don't know, this book changed some of my feelings about characters that I was super in love with in the original series, and I don't know how to feel about it even still after having like 2 weeks now to process what I read. It's really frustrating. As for the plot of this book, listen, there is a plot to this book. However, I feel like it is a secondary plot that isn't 100% necessary or going to affect things in the long run. Yes, things happen in this book that kind of forward on the plot from the original series. And yes, things happen in this book that could potentially lead to more books. But overall, the main part of this novel is Cassian and Nesta falling in love and Nesta coming to terms with the trauma that she's faced. I could care less about anything else happening in this book that does not involve those two things. Cassian and Nesta finally, accepting each other and falling in love and, being in love, and Nesta finally facing her trauma and starting to heal from it. Those are the two things that I cared about going into this book. Those are the main things of this book. The secondary plot, however, had some issues. Ugh, God. So without further ado, after I've given you that kind of synopsis, let's talk about the book, okay? Let's discuss. First things first, I want to say that I didn't feel like this book was a necessary book, not in terms of the story it is telling, however, but in terms of the series. I fully believed that the series was already complete at the end of A Court of Wings and Ruin. Yeah, A Court of Frost and Starlight also exists, and I did enjoy that book. However, it was just like a nice little bonus to be like, look, our characters are happy and they're trying to adjust to life. And now we have this, which is more of the series that I thought was done, that I had accepted was over, that I had made peace with, that I just put little thoughts in my head what it would happen. And now I have this book that left open endings for more books. It's fine. But the reason that I also think that this book is a necessary book is because Nesta's journey to accepting her trauma, to starting to heal from her trauma, gives a lot of representation to those who have gone through things, those who have trauma in their lives. And I think that this story at least was necessary for those people and to give representation to those people. Yeah, it's great to spend more time with Nesta and Cassian, and I guess Rhysand and Feyre, but the main reason that I ended up enjoying this book was because Nesta finally, after 3 books, was on a path to redemption, to happiness, to being able to sit in front of a fire again. And wow, it was everything it needed to be. And I feel like if you liked the ACOTAR books, this might not be the book for you. Honestly, I don't think it is not written the same as the other 4 books. It is not even in the same genre technically as the other 4 books because this is an adult novel. There is a lot of graphic scenes, mainly specifically of intimate settings. There is a lot of swear words, and listen, if you thought chapter 55 in A Court of Mist and Fury was spicy, listen, your mind's gonna be blown in this book. There is a lot that's happening here, and wow. The next thing that I'm going to say is that I still am not 100% sure how I feel about this book. As I kind of mentioned before, it's changed how I feel about characters that I really, really loved in the original ACOTAR book, and that is mainly being Rhysand. I still don't know if the reason I feel this way after reading this book is because it's in Nesta's perspective, and at the beginning of this book, Nesta and Rhys are not friends. They do not like each other. Rhys hates Nesta for everything that she did to Feyre and causing Feyre to have to go out into the woods to fend for her family. And Nesta just doesn't like him. I still don't know why. I'm pretty sure it's because she doesn't like that I'm gonna say this and no one's gonna be happy about it. I'm kind of assuming that Nesta kind of sees Rhys as saving Feyre from her life. And listen, that makes sense to me, but I'm not sure if the reason that he was painted this way in this book was because it is in Nesta's point of view, or if because I needed Nesta's point of view to see some of the stupid things Rhysand does. Which brings me to my first thing that I didn't like about this book. It's not the main thing that I didn't like about this book. We'll get to that. There's going to be a rant. But one of the things that I don't like in this book is in, I would say kind of like the last third, the solstice celebrations are happening, and due to the fact that the, what's his name? The High Lord of the Autumn Court is teaming up with the Mortal Queens to potentially rebel against Pyrinthian and take over Pyrinthian. He's trying to keep Eris, who is Lucian's half-brother, and the firstborn son of the Autumn Court High Lord. I don't remember his name. I don't want to remember his name. He's a terrible person. In his court, and thinking that they are allies and that he's well trusted. So Rhysand has Nesta dance with him, and he also lets Eris assume that he could potentially marry Nesta, which I get it, it's politics and everything like that. However, if Rhysand knew that Cassian and Nesta are mates, if he knew that and still had like put this into place, that is so messed up to do, especially if he considers Cassian to be like his brother. Secondly, even if he didn't think that they were mates, but knows that he knows how much Cassian is into Nesta, is in love with Nesta, has feelings for Nesta, and he let Nesta dance with Eris, who Cassian has hated for centuries. Like, how messed up is that to do to a person that you call your brother? I'm sorry, I can't get over that. That was so terrible. And I know that Nesta essentially kind of volunteered for it, but also, why was it even a thought in the first place? I don't like it. I really don't like it. I really hate it. On to some of the other characters in this book before I rant about Azriel next. That's coming. The next big thing that I did not like that happened in this book is the fact that the blood rite, which happens for all Illyrian warriors to determine whether or not they could become official Illyrian warriors, is essentially used as a plot device to manipulate Nesta into being in a vulnerable spot where, like, the mortal queen, Brylin, I don't know how to pronounce her name, can manipulate her into giving her youth back. And it's used as a plot device, which is honestly so terrible, because not for the fact that it is used as a plot device and it is so messed up, but also for the fact that it happens and she is like, Nesta, Emery, and Gwen are all taken, and it's the first time Gwen has left the library in 2 years since she arrived at the library after being attacked by Hybern. I'm gonna get emotional talking about this, but the fact that it's used as a plot device for that purpose, with the fact that Gwen hasn't left the library since she got brought to the library after Hybern attacked her, and now she's being taken in the middle of the night against her will by men, all for a plot device for Nesta to be manipulated into potentially giving back Bryland's youth, but also kind of essentially manipulating Nesta into accepting the mating bond with Cassian, let me tell you, I'm still upset about it. That is absolutely unacceptable. To put Gwen in that situation, to be taken against her will after all of the things that she has been through, and this is the first time she's stepping outside of the library, and she is immediately taken. I almost didn't finish the book. I almost put it down and walked away and said no, because listen, I have not experienced in my own personal life the things that Gwen and Nesta have essentially been through. However, there is just a line that you don't cross, and I'm still upset about it. Listen, I just don't like that it happened. I don't like that it was essentially just used as a plot device. It makes absolutely no sense, and it was so messed up to do that to a character who has been afraid of men for so long. I need to stop talking about it before I get emotional and start crying, but I just need you to know that I'm not okay with what happened. But the good thing about this book is the fact that I got to meet Gwen and Emery. And Emery we already kind of knew from A Court of Frost and Starlight, once Cassian goes in and buys all the coats and everything like that. But getting to know Emery more about her inner strength, about how she's still fighting against the patriarchal society of the Illyrian warriors, I just loved her so much more. And like, I just fell in love with her so much. I love her. She's great. And also meeting Gwen and finding out, like, learning more about one of the priestesses in the library, it made sense that these were the two people that Nesta ended up becoming such good friends with. And it worked. It really worked. I also really enjoyed the repetition of Nesta going down the stairs all the time in this book. Oh my god. I love the fact that she could only make it down the stairs, one, when she is so angry that she can't pay attention to the fact that she's down the stairs, and when she has finally started healing and finding her place in this world. It is so beautiful that, not for the fact that she gets so angry that she goes running down the stairs. However, I love that she keeps trying every single time with those stairs, and it is essentially a symbol of her continually trying to bring herself back to the Nesta that we kind of knew before Hybern, essentially. And the moment that Nesta gets down the stairs on Starfall, and she could go out into the world if she wanted to, and instead she turns right back around and goes to Cassian, it showed such a change in her and how she is healing, and that she was ready to continue this path of healing and greatness and happiness, and it just made my heart happy, essentially. Oh, I also need to talk about the fact that they're mates. I knew they were going to be mates. I kind of figured it out. I kind of put two and two together. I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because since the moment Cassian looked at Nesta, he's kind of always been in love with her, and it just made sense. It made sense that they were together. However, I would have liked them to not be mates, and I'm happy that obviously Azriel and Elaine are not mates. We'll talk about that in a second. But I would have liked it if it was just this strong connection between Cassian and Nesta that could not be ignored, and that while they weren't mates, it was for sure the fact that they were meant to be together and to be in love with each other. And yeah, they're mates. Woo. Hooray. She didn't give him any soup, but it's fine. And then, you know, they're married. It's great. Love that for them. Now, to talk about Azriel. I don't know how to talk about him in this book, because so my book that I have has no bonus chapters at all, and the book without the bonus chapters is great. I think it's a solid book, minus the blood rites scene. That's some BS, so just, I don't like that part, but that's fine. The rest of the book is okay. We'll talk about the ending later. But after reading the bonus chapters, my perspective of Asriel has changed drastically. In Asriel's bonus chapter, it is in his perspective, and it happens after solstice, and all the present giving, and he's like just standing in the foyer of the brand new home, and Elaine comes down and gives him his present, and then he gives her a present, and he almost kisses her, which, fine, whatever, kiss her if you want to, and Elaine was a willing participant, but what happens next is that Rhysand pulls Asriel out of that because, you know, Lucien is literally right upstairs, and pulls him into his study. And this is when it all starts going downhill, because I didn't care that he talked about Elaine in an intimate manner. I did not care about that part at all. I have a problem with the fact that he questions the cauldron and kind of talks like he deserves Elaine and that he has a claim on her. I don't care if you want to question whether or not the cauldron was wrong. Fine. If you don't like the fact that Lucien and Elaine are mates, whatever. I really don't care whether or not that's what happens or what. Elaine is her own person. She can be with whoever she wants. If she wants to be with Lucien, then fine. If she doesn't, good for her. However, Asriel, you have absolutely no right to her. You have no claim to her. You do not deserve her. You do not get a say in what she wants in her life. She does. She is the one that has the choice, not you. How dare you speak about her that way? And it's frustrating so much because he never talks ever. And I was like, he's there. Didn't really care that much about him. And now I have such a strong dislike against him after one bonus chapter. Sarah wants to write an entire book in his perspective, and if she does, I'm not reading it. Which is such a big change because obviously, I was connected to Asriel in the original books, and he was there, and I wanted his safety and everything like that. I cared that he survived because I wanted, you know, our inner circle to be complete. However, after this moment, I don't like him anymore, and it's really frustrating because if I hadn't read that bonus chapter, I would have never known that it had ever happened. She didn't need to write it. I could have lived without the bonus chapter and without this dislike for Asriel having this assumption that he deserves Elaine and that he should be the one with her. Whatever. If that's what she wants, good. But he doesn't get to pick it for her, and it felt like he was trying to insinuate that he knew what was best for her and that she didn't, and it bothers me still. And I feel bad that I'm going off about it because Summer loves him, but I can't look at him the same way anymore now. Again, I kind of talked about this in the beginning about how I felt like this book wasn't a necessary addition to the series, because it's not. Yes, it's good for, I like knowing what happens more, but I find myself struggling to even look at the original books now with the same love that I had before, because now I have this book and my feelings towards Rhysand are not as strong as they were before. I love Cassian so much. I'm literally a Cassian person now, and I don't like how that changed. Don't get me wrong, love you, Cassian. However, I was super into Rhysand that Kenzie bought me a fucking candle for him, so whatever. But I struggle with the fact that it changed my perspective on them. And it's hard for me to separate both the original series and A Court of Silver Flames in my mind, because I know that the original series is written in Feyre's perspective. That's it. It's in Feyre's perspective, which makes sense why she has such great description of Rhys and why she loves all of these people and everything like that, and why I fell in love with them. But now I have Nesta's perspective, and that perspective is different than Feyre's, which makes complete sense because Nesta is not Feyre. She has never been Feyre. she's struggling with her own things. But now I can't look at Rhysand with the same amount of love that I had before, for him always giving Feyre a choice, always putting her first, always trying his best to put his family first. And it's hard to look back at those books now and not think about the fact that he had Nesta dance with Eris despite the fact that he knew how Cassian felt, that he refused to tell Feyre about the baby potentially killing her. Where's her choice in that, Rhys? That he didn't want Nesta to know about the blades that she made. It's just hard for me to go back to the original books now and think about all of the great things that happened without also having this book in mind. And that really frustrates me because I loved the original series so much, and I don't have the same opinions anymore. And I kind of feel like I lost the same excitement that I had before now. As for the ending, don't like the ending either, which is why this book is a 4-star read. I could have given it 3 again if I really felt like it, but the only reason it got a 4 is because I loved Nesta and Cassian falling in love and Nesta's redemption into becoming who she is at the end. However, the ending is, oh my god, so annoying. Because the ending is Feyre giving birth, and because the baby has wings, Feyre cannot easily deliver the baby because in her Fae form, she does not have the proper, birthing position, I guess. I still don't understand. And she's essentially dying. And if I wasn't already upset about the blood right stuff, if I wasn't already upset about how Rhysand treated Cassian and Nesta's potential relationship, I am angry about the fact that Feyre basically died again. Again, for a second time. She died again. And the only reason she survived is because Nesta gave up her power for her. Yes, I am happy that Feyre is alive. Yes, I'm happy that Nesta felt that she could do something to help. Yes, I'm happy that there is now a Fae-Sand baby in this universe. However, I'm mad that literally, this is essentially a spin-off book, and authors should honestly keep people in spin-off books alive and not change anything about them. That is how I feel. That's why I don't often read spin-off series, because not every single author follows that point of view. Now, Feyre basically died again in this book, and the only reason she's alive is because of someone else's intervention. And listen, Feyre's a badass. She can kill all the people, and she fights and all that stuff, and she's the reason Rhysand's alive, whatever, I don't care. But this is now 2 times that she's died. Why? Why are we doing that in a spin-off book? Why? And secondly, Nesta gave up her entire power so Feyre could live because she loves her. And yeah, I love that sacrifice, but the whole point of this book was Nesta accepting her power, accepting that she's Fae, accepting who she is now, going through all of the trauma and accepting all of that, and going on to a path of happiness and being this badass female warrior, and she gave up her power. She just gave it away. Yes, the sacrifice was necessary, I guess. And yeah, I'm happy that Feyre's alive, and so's the baby. The baby is a stupid name. I'll talk about it in a second. But Nesta gave away her power. And I'm upset about that. I don't think that should have been a thing. I really don't. I don't appreciate that. I also don't appreciate the fact that then we find out that Rhys and Feyre made a bargain where If she dies, he dies. That's so stupid. Are you kidding me? That is... I get it, you're in love and your mates and all this bullshit, and because you had to go through losing Reese once, I really don't care. Life happens, okay? Feyre and Rhysand, life happens. And I get it, you might not want to go on without the other person, but really, you're going to put your family and your friends through losing both of you? That's some effed up BS if I ever heard it. Also, the baby's name is Nyx. Why? 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 I shouldn't be surprised. So, that's A Court of Silver Flames. I'm sorry that this was me ranting about this book. I might need to actually give it 3 stars. I think I might need to resend my 4th star. But it exists. It's out. I have read it. I can't recommend it. I am going to say that. I cannot recommend it. If you loved the ACOTAR books, I don't think you should read this. Wow, what a turn. Who would have thought I would have not recommended a Sarah J. Maas book after all this time? But I think you should just only read the original series and not read this book. I don't think it's worth it. I spent $26 on it. I don't want it. Oh... Who would have thought the day would have came? I don't know. I enjoyed it for what it is, but I don't enjoy the fact that it tainted my opinions on the other books. So for that reason, I can't recommend it to you. And I'm sorry that you've had to listen to me talk about all of this just to get to that, but that's what this channel is. That's who I am. So, if you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of A Court of Silver Flames if you've read it. If you guys like this content, make sure to subscribe. I post videos every single Friday, and I'll see you guys later. Bye! Down with the patriarchy.